Good morning. So it is the 28th of December and I thought that I would film today because we are hopefully going to go book shopping, and I thought that I would bring you along. We're about to head into town. The real adult boring reason that we're going is because my glasses have gone really loose and they keep sliding down my nose, and always keeping it glamorous here, they've made my nose sore from where I have to keep pushing them up. So never a dull moment here, but I did get gifted a book voucher for Christmas, and so because we're trying not to go places you know, for pandemic reasons, I thought that if town is not too busy, we'll also go and see if we can do some book shopping. And I thought that I would bring you along on the book shopping experience, and then I will show you the books that I pick up. I did get a couple of books for Christmas, and I did also buy myself 3 books just before Christmas, which I knew I wasn't going to get and that I wanted. So yeah, I thought that that might be fun to bring you along, and then I will show you the book haul afterwards. Obviously if it's really busy, I mean we're up super early, we're trying to get into town for the time that it opens, but if it's really busy we're just probably going to come home. I might not even get my glasses sorted depending on how busy it is, because we just don't want to risk it, you know, 2020 pandemic life and all that. So yeah, hopefully we'll be successful. But yeah, as I said, I'll bring you along for the little bookish adventure. So yeah, I'll speak to you all later. Okay, so it is quite a few days later. I have my Waterstones bag here. My books have sat in quarantine for a little bit. My glasses got fixed, in case you were interested. So I'm going to share with you the books that I picked up in Waterstones, but I'm also going to take you through some of the books that I got for Christmas and a couple that I bought just before Christmas as well. So without further ado, the first book I'm going to share with you is one that James bought for me, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So I have never actually read anything by Victoria Schwab, although I do own the Dark Shade of Magic series, and James has read and recommends them to me often. But he picked this one up because he said, number one, he thought the cover was stunning, which it is, and actually even when you take off the dust jacket it is printed on the cover as well, which is beautiful, but also because he thought that the premise sounded really interesting, and I have to agree. So it begins in France 1714. A desperate woman makes a desperate deal in the dark, a bargain to live forever but be remembered by none. So begins the invisible life of Addie LaRue, and so I think we basically follow her as she passes in and out of history and time and meets various different people, but that all changes when she walks into a bookshop in Manhattan and she is remembered by a man in there, and so I think the story kind of unfolds from there. As I said, I think it sounds really interesting, packaged in a beautiful cover to boot. Not really a reader of hardbacks, but when they are this pretty, who am I to say no? Next, a book which I actually put, we do Secret Santas with both sides of our family for the adults, and it was one that I put on my list, and I'm so pleased that I received it, and I'm so excited to read it because I've heard nothing but fantastic things, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. Honestly, this started popping up more and more on my social media feeds with people just praising it so much, and I'm very, very excited to read it. So my understanding is that we are following our protagonist Linus Baker, who is basically given the job of going to do an audit on a house up on a cliff which is full of dangerous magical children, and when he gets there he finds that things aren't quite as he was told. Says at the very bottom, the house in the Cerulean Sea is an enchanting love story masterfully told about the profound experience of discovering an unlikely family in an unexpected place and realising that family is yours. This is very, very high on my list to read in 2021. Very, very pleased that I have it. I'm very excited to read it. Next we have This Tender Land by William Kent Kruger. This is a book that I picked up because my friend Katie from Life Between Words highly recommended it, and we have very similar reading taste. It's very unusual that she would like and recommend a book that I would not also like, and I think that she loved this book, so very, very excited to read it. Don't know too much about it. It is historical fiction set in the 1930s, and we are following the story of 4 orphans who travel the Mississippi River on a life-changing odyssey during the Great Depression. I've never read anything by William Kent Kruger, so yeah, very excited to pick this up. If it is anything as good as Katie has said, pretty confident that I'm going to love it. Then we have Bone Chyna by Laura Purcell. Earlier in 2020 I read The Corset by Laura Purcell and absolutely loved it. I loved her writing style, I loved the gothic Victorian feel of the book, and I'm very keen to read some more of her stuff. In Cornwall, in Moor Voren House, and I think we are following a dual timeline, we have Louise Pinecroft, who lives with her father. It says consumption has ravaged her family, leaving her and her father alone and heartbroken, but her father is a doctor and he has some kind of medical experiment that he wants to try and turn the family's fortunes around. And then we flash forward 40 years later and we have a young woman who turns up, Hester Y, who arrives at Moor Voren House to take up a position as nurse to the now partially paralysed and almost entirely mute Louise Pinecroft. Hester has fled to Cornwall to try and escape her past, but she soon discovers that her new home may be just as dangerous as her last. The thing that I really liked about The Corset was the atmospheric writing and the suspense that Laura Purcell was able to inject into her story, so that you knew constantly that something was coming and there was a tension and an anticipation. And I think that this book is going to be exactly the same. I think that Hester is going to discover that there is more to her new location than perhaps meets the eye. So yeah, very much looking forward to reading this one. Next we have a book which I think is pretty old. I think it's been around quite a while, but all of a sudden in 2020 it had a resurgence and I started seeing it everywhere, and I was just curious enough that I decided that I wanted to know what the fuss was about. So this is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. It has been a while since I've read anything to do with vampires, not counting Cassandra Clare's series, because that's not really like about vampires. I think the last time that I read one was probably Twilight, to be fair. So yeah, a world of witches, demons and vampires, a manuscript which holds the secrets of their past and the key to their future. Diana and Matthew, the forbidden love at the heart of it. Honestly, just bought this because, as I say, it started popping up everywhere with people saying, finally reading this, really enjoying it, loving it, this is fantastic. I thought, maybe I'll see what the fuss is about. Although I am actually disappointed because I thought I was getting a gorgeous white cover, and then this turned up and it has the Sky Original Production non-sticker on it, so a little bit disappointed with that. But yeah, just one to add to the list that I'm sure I will get to at some point in the near future. And then in the UK we have a bookshop called The Works. I've referenced it before. Every now and then they do a 3 for £5 deal, and I decided to pick myself up a little stack. The keen-eyed among you will notice that there are only 5 books here rather than 6. I did pick up a book for Meg. I'm going to do a separate middle grade book haul because the kids got a lot of books, thank goodness, for Christmas, because they're literally reading us out of house and home. The libraries are still shut. It's a nightmare, but I'm going to do a separate middle grade haul probably later in January, and one of the books I got was for her, so I'm pushing that to one side. So the first book that I bought was Edith and Oliver by Michelle Forbes. I have never seen anybody reference this anywhere, but I just thought that it sounded really intriguing. So we have Edith, who is a headstrong pianist, and we have Oliver, who is an illusionist, and they meet and they fall in love and they start a family. But they begin their family at a time when the world and society is changing, so there is the emergence of cinemas, and as such the need for music halls and for live performances and that kind of thing begins to wane. And so the family find themselves, I think, in financial trouble and desperate to try and create a bit more of a buzz. Oliver tries for one last illusion. It says on the back, but will it be his family who pays the ultimate price? Forbes imbues Edith and Oliver with such wit and tenderness, it's a pleasure to read. A tragic love story set in changing times. Just thought that it sounded really intriguing. It definitely captured my attention. One that I'm gonna give a go. Then I picked up The Foundling by Stacey Halls. Now I read The Familiars by Stacey Halls, I think early last year, and I enjoyed it. It was flawed to a point, and I didn't think that it was fantastic, but it was her debut and I enjoyed it enough that I wanted to see how her writing style would grow and develop, so that I thought that I would pick this one up. It is historical fiction. It's set during 1754, basically 6 years after leaving her daughter at London's Foundling Hospital. Bess Bright comes back and tries to reclaim her, only to be told that she has already been and reclaimed her. And so she tries to then find out where she is, who's taken her, and why they were claiming to be Bess in the first place. And that's pretty much all I know. Very intrigued, as I say, to see how her writing has developed. I think that it sounds very interesting, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of historical fiction. Yeah, we'll see how we go. And I know, I mentioned actually in a recent video, I've mentioned in a couple of recent videos that I am a big wuss when it comes to scary things, but I do on occasion like a bit of a thriller. And I saw this and I thought, will I, won't I, can I cope with it? But it piqued my interest enough that I thought I would pick it up. So I have The Poison Garden by Alex Marwood, and this is about a young girl called Romy who is 22, and she has recently escaped from a cult, and she is young and she is pregnant and she is alone, and it says if she is to keep herself safe in this new world, Romy has some important lessons to learn, like how there are some people you can trust and some you must fear, and about who her family really is and why her mother ran away from them all those years ago, and that you can't walk away from a dark past without expecting it to catch up with you. Think it's going to be creepy, think it's going to be suspenseful, willing to give it a go, may not get on with it because I am a bit of a wuss, but yeah, thought that it was interesting enough that I would give it a go. Then we have Templar Silks by Elizabeth Chadwick. Elizabeth Chadwick is one of my favourite historical fiction authors, and I have not read anything by her in quite a long time. So when I saw that this was in the offer, and when I saw who this was about, I was immediately on board because it's about William Marshall. And if you don't know, there is a duology written by Elizabeth Chadwick about William Marshall that is one of my favourite historical fiction duologies of all time. They are books that have just stuck with me for years and years and years, and I often think of them. I just love them so much. So when I saw that she brought another one out which featured William Marshall, I was like, yep, 100% I'm reading that. So England 1219, lying on his deathbed, William Marshall sends for the silk Templar burial shrouds he brought from the Holy Land 30 years ago. It is time to fulfill his vow and become a monk of their order for eternity. As he waits, William looks back on his long ago pilgrimage with his brother Ansel and the sacred mission entrusted to them. Jerusalem, 1183, in the holiest of all cities, the brothers become embroiled in deadly politics, devious scheming, and the lusts of the powerful men and women who rule the kingdom. Untold dangers lurk around every corner, and William must be on his guard, especially against the beautiful and mercurial concubine, Pascia de Riveri, I think. Absolutely butchered that name. But yeah, so excited to pick this up. As I say, it's been a while since I've read any Elizabeth Chadwick anyway, and it's about William Marshall, so like I'm so here for it. So excited. And then the final book in this little section is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary, and I actually went backwards and forwards on picking this up because it's a very popular book. but I have seen very mixed reviews about it. Some people are absolutely loving it and some people saying it's a total waste of time, and so I wasn't really sure, because I'm not a big contemporary fluffy romance reader anyway, and I kind of thought, is this going to be for me? But I couldn't find another book. I wanted the offer. I thought that it was worth giving it a go, on the off chance that I did find it amusing and entertaining, on the off chance that it was for me. So this is about two people. We have Leon and we have Tiffy, and they basically live in the same one-bedroom flat. So one of them occupies it during the day and one of them occupies it during the night, and they never meet basically because they work separate shifts and they're in the flat during different times of the day. But with obsessive ex-boyfriends, wrongly imprisoned brothers, and of course the fact that they still haven't met yet, it seems this flat share is more complicated than expected. Tiffany and Leon share a bed. Tiffy and Leon have never met. I think I said Tiffany. Tiffy. So yeah, just one to add to the list. I feel like this is going to be the perfect book to pick up when I just need something a bit lighter in between some of the heavier books that I sometimes read, particularly like the large fantasy books. So yeah, just one to add to my ever-growing TBR pile. Right, and then on to the books that I got in Waterstones with my book voucher. So first up, let me get them out. Very, very excited. I will be transparent and say that I already own the first book in this series, but they have since changed the covers, and this is a series that I very much want to prioritise and read in 2021. Very keen to binge read outstanding series that I have basically in 2021, rather than kind of reading series and then having to wait for books to come out. So the one I'm talking about is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. So this is the first book, then we have Torch Against the Night, and then we have A Reaper at the Gates, and then the fourth and final book in this series has just been released. So I figured by the time I got to the end of the third one, the fourth one would probably be available in paperback, or at least I will be able to get it on my Kindle or some such. So yeah, just very, very excited to read these. I believe they are a Roman inspired fantasy. James, my husband, has read these and really enjoyed them. He really recommended them. He's very excited to read the fourth and final one. As I say, I'm just really feeling the need to kind of read series back to back rather than having to wait a while for books to come out, although the next book that I'm going to pull out of this bag does kind of give light to that a little bit. But yeah, I've just heard very, very good things about this. It's a series that I've always been intrigued to pick up, and now I have 3 of the 4 books I can do just that. So despite what I said about being able to read series and finish them, binge read series and finish them, there are still some series that I'm interested in where the books are being gradually released, and one of those is this series by Brandon Sanderson. So this is the sequel to Skyward. It's called Starsight. This is Brandon Sanderson's YA space series. So the first book, we were following our protagonist Spencer, who had spent her whole life dreaming of being a fighter pilot. She lives with the last remnants of humankind on an island, and they are on a planet, and they are regularly attacked, and they basically have to live their lives underground. But the fighter pilots can come out and they fight the enemy in the sky every now and then, who are called the Krell. But Spencer has lived her life kind of on the edge because her father was branded a coward. And I don't know if you remember, I actually filmed a reading vlog of me reading Skyward, and basically I read the whole book. I really, really enjoyed it, and then in the last paragraph, Brandon Sanderson turned the entire plot, the entire book, everything that I thought I had been reading, completely upside down on its head and turned it into a completely different story. And I was just astounded. I was like, wait, what? So I've been waiting quite a while for this to come out, and I'm very keen to read it and see where on earth he's going to take it, and if he's going to offer me any kind of resolution for the cliffhanger that he left me on when I finished the first one. But yeah, just very, very excited to read this. You'll know by now, if you're not new around here, that I love Brandon Sanderson's writing. I think he is a masterful, clever, clever storyteller, and I will eat up pretty much anything that he writes. So this is also a priority in 2021 very pleased to have it. And the final book that I'm going to talk about is Silver Sparrow by Tayari Jones. I have not read An American Marriage, and the reason that I picked this up is because this was actually in the buy one get one half price, and so I was looking for another book in that same offer. I wanted An American Marriage, that was not in the offer, but this one was, so I figured I would try this one. If I enjoy the writing style, I will then invest in An American Marriage. So this says, secrets. My father, James Witherspoon, is a bigamist. Dana and Charisse are sisters bound together by the life-changing secret of their father's double life. Lies. Only one of them knows the truth. When they do finally meet and form a friendship, the fragile balance of ignorance and silence that has kept James's secret safe for so long threatens to explode. Hope. This soulful story of friendship and sisterhood paints an unforgettable picture of the messy knots that bind families together for the prize-winning author of An American Marriage. What can I say? It sounds very, very interesting. An American Marriage, I know, was a very popular and much enjoyed book in the book community. It was on my radar and wanted to pick it up, but I thought that I would give this one a go because I'm a cheapskate and it was in the offer. But yeah, I think that it sounds interesting, and I am looking forward to picking it up. There you go, that is my most recent book haul. That is happy Christmas to me, happy Christmas to everybody. Lots and lots of books to get stuck into in 2021, and we'll just pretend that the giant TBR stacks that are literally sitting opposite me, glaring at me if books could glare, don't exist, because I've brought them some new book friends to add to it. So do let me know if you have read any of the books that I've hauled today, what you think about them, if I should prioritise any of them. Do let me know. I always love to chat more with you in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give me the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. I hope that you are all keeping well and safe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all soon.